Please rise. Hear ye, hear ye. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Campbell is now presiding.
You may be seated. Prosecution lawyers, please read your opening statement.
My clients, Rapunzel and the Prince, are charging the sorceress with child abduction, kidnapping, forcible detention, and confinement against one's will. Rapunzel's father met the sorceress while getting some Rapunzel for his wife. The sorceress forced the young husband to promise their baby to her for taking her Rapunzel lettuce. After Rapunzel was born, she was taken by the sorceress. At the age of 12, the sorceress confined Rapunzel in a large tower with no human contact. One day, several years later, a prince walked through the forest. He noticed Rapunzel with her long braids. He watched the sorceress climb Rapunzel's braids to get to the top of the tower. He ordered Rapunzel to let down her hair, and he often visited her in the tower. When the sorceress saw them together, she left Rapunzel in the forest. This is why we think the sorceress should be guilty and punished for what she has done.
Defense lawyer, you may read your opening statement.
I am Charles Pittman, Mary's lawyer. I do not see what my client has done. I believe it is not fair and that she has been wrongfully accused. I don't understand how she could be charged with child abduction. She, as I see it, simply adopted Rapunzel, but instead of paying with money, paid with Rapunzel, a great tasting plant in which Rapunzel's mom was craving. She hasn't done anything wrong, and you, Rapunzel, are trying to throw your own mother in jail, even after she tried to save your true love from falling off the top of the castle. Me and Mary have been friends ever since pre-K, and I know she would never do anything like this. Everyone thinks she is an evil sorceress, but she is simply an amazingly brilliant scientist. And now, she took such great care of Rapunzel. Rapunzel turns on her because she feels that the sorceress has done her wrong. Well, I say Mary is innocent and has been wrongfully accused. If you are willing to tell me one thing Mary did that can be called a crime.
The prosecution now calls our first witness to the stand.
The prosecution now calls for Rapunzel Jeffrey to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You may be seated.
Witness, please read your opening statement.
My name is Rapunzel. I was called to the witness stand before you to prove the sorceress' guilt of child abduction, kidnapping, forcible detention, and confinement against one's will, among other horrible things she has done to countless others. I was taken from my parents at birth and was kept with the sorceress until I was 12. Then she took me to a tower away from civilization. Then when I was 16, the sorceress found out and she sent me to a forest alone to have our lives. After years, I found the prince and now we live happily, but I want to make sure no one ever is hurt by the evil witch again.
Prosecution, you may begin questioning the witness.
Why do you think the sorceress is guilty?
She kidnapped me as soon as I was born. She forced me into a tower, deprived of human contact, then threw me in a forest to die.
Was it right to take Rapunzel do you think it was right for her to take you as a child because of a spoken promise?
No, my mother was dying. My father shouldn't have stolen the Rapunzel, but asked. If he was any bit decent, she would have allowed it. She probably put a spell on the Rapunzel.
What was your life like in the tower?
Awful. I barely got enough food to live. The tower might have been big, but it was scary and full of awful things. The floors would break under me. I nearly died on many occasions. She wouldn't give me anything I needed, just bringing me a bowl of fruit every day and 2 cups of water.
Why do you think that the sorceress banished you to the forest?
She realized I had met someone and was actually happy. I didn't even know that she was mad until she started screaming at me. She hated that I was happy and someone actually cared about me.
How were you treated before you were put in the tower?
I can't really remember. I remember her giving me strange things that made me forget things in sleep. She probably was beating me or starving me to death. In the tower was actually better than my first years.
No further questions. Defense, you may question the prosecution witness.
How do you think the sorceress is guilty?
She took me from my parents when they took the Rapunzel when my mom actually needed it. And she locked me in a tower and I had no way of getting out.
Do you believe Mary is truly evil?
Yes, because if she wasn't, she would have cared about me and she would have taken care of me and let me see people.
How do you feel about the sorceress and her actions?
I think that she is very guilty and that she should be thrown in jail.
Do you think it was right? How were you held against your will?
I didn't want to be in the tower, but she locked me there anyway, so I really had no choice.
Did you obey a lot?
I tried to because I didn't want to make her angry. I was afraid of what she would do.
No further questions. The prosecution witness may now be seated, and the prosecution may call their second witness to stand.
The prosecution now sends Red Riding Hood to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You may be seated.
Witness, please read your opening statement.
I was on my way to my grandmother's house and I heard a noise in the woods. I followed the noise and it led me to a tall tower that was very narrow. I didn't see anyone around, so I went to take a closer look. After I figured out that there was no door, I heard someone coming. I didn't know what to do, so I ran to a nearby rock and squatted behind it. I saw a woman dragging a young girl with long blonde hair towards the tower. I didn't see their faces because they were moving too quickly. She took the girl to the other side of the tower, so I didn't see how she got her into the tower. I do know, however, that that woman was very cruel and is guilty. I did not stay any longer because I was afraid that the woman would start looking around and I didn't want to be caught, so I ran off. I believe that the sorceress is guilty as charged.
Prosecution, you may begin questioning your witness.
Were you threatened in any way by the sorceress?
She did not have any direct contact or conversations with me, but I felt uneasy and worried around her. I was worried that she would do something worse to me because I had seen the crime. I didn't want to be caught. Just by seeing her made a shiver run down my spine.
Do you know why the sorceress took the baby?
I had no knowledge about that situation. I just saw her there, and then I saw the wanted signs around my village, and I knew exactly who it was. I will never forget that moment when the sorceress was violently trapping Rapunzel in the tiny-looking tower.
Have you talked to Rapunzel recently about the crime?
Yes, I did. I didn't want to take my story to court without making sure it was true. I met with her last week to tell her about what I saw. She confirmed my theory. Then she told me the rest of the story. I knew that I saw the sorceress, and I knew she was guilty. When she said there was a Rapunzel garden that the sorceress grew, I knew exactly what she was talking about. There was a garden with a huge wall at the edge of the village, and right beside that was a lonely couple grieving over a lost child. It all made sense.
Do you know how the sorceress has been treating the child?
Not really, though I did see her drag her into the tower, which gave me a pretty good clue about that. I passed the tower many other times to see if anything had changed, but the last thing I saw was long golden braids tied to the top of the small window at the top. I didn't know about anything about what was going on inside. I was too frightened of what I might see in the top of the tower. I worried about the girl and what was to come of her for a while, but I had no knowledge of her circumstances until my meeting with Rapunzel.
Have you ever seen the sorceress in the village?
No, it was very strange realizing that the sorceress was the owner of the garden. Nobody ever came out of that place, but it was always so beautiful and well kept. The only thing I ever saw there was a woman leaving the village, which was obviously the sorceress. Since I'm a bit older than Rapunzel, I have lived there longer than her. I have never seen anything there. No garden caretakers, no maids or cooks, no servants or family, no visitors of any kind. Nobody ever came in or out.
No further questions. Defense, you may question the prosecution witness.
How do you feel about the sorceress and her actions?
I think that she was very cruel, and I disagree with everything she did. It was wrong to lock Rapunzel in that tower.
Do you think it was right for Rapunzel to let in the prince?
I didn't think that she knew who the prince was because she wasn't able to see him until he got up there.
Rapunzel never said she didn't want to live in the tower, so how is it forcible detention?
Because she was put there by the sorceress. She didn't go there herself, so...
Did Rapunzel disobey her mother a lot?
She never told me of any times that she had disobeyed her mother.
Have you ever met Mary?
No, I have not. I've been too scared to ever talk to her.
No further questions. You may be seated. The prosecution now calls their third witness to the stand.
The prosecution now calls the Prince Geoffrey to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated.
Witness, please read your opening statement.
I'm the prince that heard Rapunzel sing, and I was drawn to the beautiful sound of her voice. I studied how the sorceress got up in the tower. I saw the witch say, "Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair." So I said the same thing, and I got in the tower, and I met her. And then she ended up getting pregnant. And right before that, I proposed to her, and she said yes. So when the witch found out that Rapunzel was pregnant, she banished her to the forest. And then I went up there and to go back up there to meet her, and then she pushed me off, the witch. And so after that, I was blind, and I stumbled over and over through the wilderness, and finally I found Rapunzel, and then I took her to my kingdom, which happened to be in that same wilderness.
Prosecution, you may question your witness.
Did you know that the sorceress banished Rapunzel to the forest?
Yes, my wife told me she was banished, and all because she was just pregnant. And can't you understand, it's just called love?
Why did the sorceress toss you off of the tower?
She tossed me off just because I went to Rapunzel every day.
How did you feel when you finally found Rapunzel?
I felt happy and joyful, and I thought she was lost to me forever. And so then when I came close to her and hugged her, her tears fell in my eyes, and I was healed, and I was not blind anymore.
What was your reaction when you found you were blind?
I was mad at the witch, and I felt dumb and scared that some animal would go and eat me. So that made me even madder at her.
What was your reaction when you found the sorceress at the top of the tower instead of Rapunzel?
I was scared and felt slightly guilty just for a sliver of a moment. But then she tossed me off. And then I was not.
No further questions. Defense, you may now begin questioning the witness.
How was it kidnapping if the husband gave her the baby?
Well, it was kidnapping because the mother ate the Rapunzel, but she was going to die if she didn't. So then the witch took Rapunzel, and because that was the price for her eating it. So to me, that's kidnapping.
What did you see?
Well, I was not there at that time. My wife told me.
Have you ever met Mary?
Yes, when I climbed up that tower and she tossed me off.
Was Rapunzel a good person?
Yes, she was very sweet. Otherwise, I wouldn't have married her.
What things did Mary do to be considered crimes?
Well, first of all, she tossed me off the tower. Second of all, she banished Rapunzel. And she made me blind by tossing me off the tower.
No further questions. You may be seated. The defense now calls their first witness to the stand.
The defense now calls Sally Solomon to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated.
Witness, read your opening statement.
My name is Sally Selman. I'm charging Rapunzel for holding me hostage for 5 years. She kept me in her closet so the sorceress couldn't find me. Of course, the sorceress would have set me free. Also, Rapunzel only fed me once a month. As I kept looking through the crack from my closet door, I kept on seeing a mysterious man. I know the sorceress tried her best to keep her safe. Rapunzel betrayed her. The sorceress saved her from her parents. They were being very abusive to Rapunzel. If they didn't save her, her parents would still be being very abusive to her. The sorceress did her a huge favor. All the sorceress is wanting in return is Rapunzel not going outside into the unsafe world. I have been so dreadful in Rapunzel's closet. At 1 a.m. I heard a sound. I realized it was the sorceress. I started tapping on my fishbowl. She didn't hear me at first, so I tapped again. Then she heard me. She set me free. She also gave me magical powers so I could be immortal. I think the sorceress shouldn't be charged for any of this because she is a kind, loving, caring person.
Defense, you may question your witness.
So, Sally, what did you see that day?
I saw Rapunzel with a strange man. I don't think that she was supposed to see anybody. The sorceress needs to keep her safe.
How do you feel about the sorceress being accused?
I feel like the sorcerer being accused is terrible. She didn't do anything wrong. She always took care of Rapunzel. She is a very good stepmother.
Do you feel like you were held hostage by Rapunzel?
Yes, because when I was held hostage, I was just a baby. Now I am 5 years old.
Have you ever seen Mary do anything wrong?
No, she does everything good. She always takes care of Rapunzel. She feeds her and makes sure she is safe.
How is Rapunzel as an owner?
Rapunzel is a terrible owner. First of all, she is holding me hostage. She only feeds me once a month. I am kept in her closet. I can barely even breathe.
Did Rapunzel misbehave often?
Yes. She always let the strange man in. She never listened to the sorceress, even if it was to clean her room up.
No further questions. Prosecution, you may question their witness.
Has the sorceress ever done this before?
Yes. She always is very good to the Rapunzel.
Do you know what the sorceress did in the tower?
She always took care of Rapunzel, and she never did it. She would never throw off the prince from the castle.
Do you know anything else about the sorcerer?
No, only I know that she is very kind and sweet and loving.
Have you seen Rapunzel do anything wrong?
Yes, she always does everything wrong. She never listens to her stepmother.
No further questions. Witness, you may be seated. The defense calls their final witness.
The defense now calls Sorcerer May Lamb to the stand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You may be seated.
Please read your opening statement.
Hello, my name is Sorceress Mary. I have been wrongfully accused of child abduction and forcible detention. I have the real story about me right here. One day, I decided to plant a garden. Everything was fine until a man came to me and said I could have his baby. When it was born, this man did not want a child at all. He said he loved his wife, but they were not ready for a child. Of course, I took the child in because I could not let that poor man suffer. I feared the child would have a bad life too. Once I had the child, I couldn't let it live in my house because it wasn't child-proof. So, when she was 12, I took her to a tower because she could have a happy life there. I stayed with the child every day, but I went to my home at night. The child grew very long hair. I thought I could use that to my advantage. I climbed her hair every day to get to her. One day I went up and she asked for more clothes because hers were getting tight. Then I knew she was getting visits at night. It turns out that she was married to a prince and was having a baby. So I let her free. Then when the man came in to see Rapunzel, I said hello and tried to be friendly, but he tripped out the window. I tried to give him my hand, but it was too late. So you see, I'm not guilty of anything, just misunderstood, that's all. So you can ask your questions now.
Defense, you may question your witness.
What happened the day you got Rapunzel?
Well, I was watering my garden and a man offered me his unborn child for some Rapunzel because he did not want it. I took it so he wouldn't suffer.
Did you abduct Rapunzel after birth?
No, I did not. I made a deal with him and we both paid our prices.
Did you lock her in the tower?
No, I didn't. I couldn't let her live in my house and a tower would be perfect for her hair.
Did you try to keep her from her parents?
Yes and no. No, because she should be able to see her parents. Yes, because I didn't want her to run away.
Did Rapunzel's dad give you the baby?
It was sort of like that. He didn't want his child, but he did make a deal so he could have some Rapunzel.
No further questions. Prosecution, you may question the defense witness.
Why do you feel that you are innocent?
Well, you see, I didn't really do anything wrong. I'm just misunderstood because everything I do, people think I'm evil.
Do you think your deal with Rapunzel's father was fair?
I think it was. He really didn't want his child, and he wanted some Rapunzel. I would have given him the plant either way, but he wanted me to have his child too, so yes, I think it was fair.
Why did you lock Rapunzel in the tower?
I didn't lock her in the tower. I put her up there, and I let her come out if she wanted to, but she always chose to stay up there so she wouldn't get her hair tangled up and people would steal it.
Do you feel that your actions should result in punishment? Why or why not?
I don't think I should be punished for my actions because everything I do, it's for the good. People don't really see that part, but in the end, it could end up being good.
No further questions. Witness, you may be seated. Court is now adjourned for the jury's deliberation.